Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Terence Crawford recently did an interview with Brian Custer. And let me tell you, Crawford is choosing currency over legacy. And, I honestly believe Floyd Mayweather has influenced a lot of boxers. And when you hear Floyd Mayweather say stuff like currency over legacy, and you look at the decision Crawford made, you look at Adrian Broner jumping on the bandwagon now, you cannot fault Terence Crawford for taking this $10 million fight with Evander Cien, because his legacy cemented already. Now, when Terence Crawford comes out, right, he said a few things, right? I'm going to get into that. But the bottom line is he said if he never fights Earl Spence, it'll just be one of those things where they'll both be known for the fight that never happened. And he's okay with that. And for a lot of boxing fans, including myself, that's a little frustrating, because this is the fight for Terence Crawford, for Earl Spence. And it's going to get to a point here where someone's going to lose, or they're both going to lose to these other C+, B level type fighters, right? Or they're going to go and retire and have never fought. And when they look back at it 20 years from now, the money is nice, but it's going to be a thorn in their side, because they'll always have to deal with the question of what happened. But we kind of have some answers on why that didn't happen. Bottom line is, Bud Crawford just chose to walk away from negotiations. Now, he said a few things in this interview, okay? The first thing he said that got my attention is, now I've been covering this for a while, so some of this I may have said already, but I'm going right off the interview he did a few hours ago. Bud Crawford says he just felt like he wanted to fight this year, and that he plans on revisiting Spence talks next year to make that fight happen. So in Bud's world, and in his mind, he feels that he'll take this fight, make the quick $10 million, and just walk back into negotiation with Earl Spence. It does not work like that. Let me tell you, he chose currency over legacy. You can't have them both. And with the way Spence feels, the way the PBC feels, the way boxing fan feels, and also the way the sanctioning bodies feel, he can't just walk into negotiation with Earl Spence again. Like, that shit has been pushed off for probably a year, 2 years. You got mandatories now. With the mandatory comes a rematch. Bud Crawford and Earl Spence will not fight in 2023. They may not fight until 2024. If that. Those are facts, people. And Bud Crawford, I'm not sure he thought this out. But at the same time, I have to give him credit and say he's an intelligent man. Because when he says he's cool with being known for the fight that never happened between him and Spence. Because Terence Crawford, the man is in 3 different weight divisions. The man's been undisputed at 140. It doesn't matter the opposition, right? Everybody, he fought weak opposition. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing, okay? I will say at 140, the opposition he went through wasn't the opposition Jermell Charlo went through at 154. I'll say that. But I don't know. I don't want to come and say he fought weak opposition. I say Terence Crawford made it look easy. But for Terence Crawford, he feels he already has his legacy. Y'all saw it a couple months ago, a year ago, whatever. He was up there in the Boxing Hall of Fame getting his hands casted and all that. You guys saw that? So Terence Crawford, he's definitely following in Floyd Mayweather's footsteps where it's all about currency over legacy at this point in his career. Same thing with Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner was praying to the gods, to the about billion gods, for a chance, for a sign. Someone help me. BLK Prime, come down. Boom. Adrian Broner. So you guys, Adrian Broner, when he returns, who's he going to fight at 140 or 147? Adrian Broner's not looking for no damn hard fight. Currency over legacy. Because Adrian Broner already has his legacy. 4 different weight classes. Come on, man. You think he wants to get in there with a killer? So for Adrian Broner, for Terence Crawford, they already have the legacy. They want the money. Tank Davis got the money. He wants the legacy. And that's the reality of it. So then Terence Crawford goes on and talks about the $10 million that BLK Prime and him, contracted for. Terence Crawford received $5 million already. A week before the fight, Terence Crawford will receive the other $5 million. That's all ironed out. Terence Crawford said he's not worried about his money. Now this right here, again, is currency over legacy. He doesn't care about what anyone thinks about him fighting Evander Cien. He's like, my family comes first. Spence was a priority, but then he came and said something that about Spence and Al Heyman, the whole PBC, right? That blew my mind. He says, the man said you got to always have a backup plan. So while he was in negotiations with Al Heyman and Earl Spence, right? He said he had the backup plan B already. But he said that his priority, and he told BLK Prime because they wanted to work with him. He's like, his priority is making the fight with Earl Spence. So at this time, he wants to focus on that. But if something comes up, he'll touch base with him. Now, I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, what happened. He knew he had that plan B. I'm not sure if he knew, at that point in time, he knew there was going to be $10 million on the table. He didn't disclose that. But he knew there was a plan B there. There were these guys saying they wanted to host a fight for him. So he's in there going through these negotiations with Al Heyman and Earl Spence. If he didn't have a plan B, he would have sat there, and I am 100% sure he would have been fighting Earl Spence in February. But he had the plan B. The plan B did a couple things for Crawford. 1, it got him some big money. 2, it helped him to be active. But 3, it also made it easy for him to just say, I'm out of here. It gave him an escape route. Because when Crawford says he decided to just go and contact the BLK Prime guys, now these are his words, because negotiations between him and Earl Spence fell apart. Now let me tell you, the negotiations didn't fall apart. Because he comes back and says, because when he says that, I'm like, okay, maybe he'll expound. He'll disclose what specifically caused negotiation to fall apart. Negotiation didn't fall apart. He just got, and it's his right, but he got frustrated that the fight got pushed off from November to like February. But when you look at what the plan was, marketing the fight, they had like 3 different venues. Getting the right time to get the sponsors, endorsement deals. They wanted to make sure that they were able to maximize this fight's money earning potential. They wanted to push it all the way. Get this, all the A-listers in Hollywood. They wanted to do it like a Pacquiao Mayweather. Have it out there, announcements over the Super Bowl, everything. Like real marketing geniuses, the smart people behind the scenes. Like, this is what we need to do. We can go right now and maybe make 30% of what we could make, because the fights are going to do numbers no matter what. Or we do it the right way and make huge numbers. Crawford, I'm not sure if that conversation took place. According to Espinoza, there were some things that were shared with Crawford. It sounds like there were some other things that they said they had in place, but he doesn't say whether that was shared with Crawford or not. So I don't know. But I could understand the guys over at PBC wanting to plan this out and do it the right way. I could understand Crawford wanting to go and fight. I could understand Crawford wanting to take that $10 million. I can understand him wanting to be active. What I can't understand is how there was a communication breakdown. And with Crawford, and the other thing I can't understand, and that's on both parts, because if that was the plan and they didn't, which I don't know that, right? If they didn't convey that to Crawford, like, hey, before you jump ship, this is what we're looking to do, then that's a foul on their part. But what it sounds like, according to Bud, he didn't give them an opportunity to come down and close the loop and say, well, hold on before you bounce. Crawford just says, shit, what? This may get pushed to February? I'm out of here. Didn't tell him anything. And just hooked up with BLK Prime, planned his fight with Evanesian, and Crawford got a very good deal. For those of you who don't know, Evanesian, I don't know how much money he's getting, but whatever he was contracted to receive, it's already over there in an escrow account or in some kind of account. But Evanesian has his money already. So that's good to know. But Evanesian, he's not getting any portion of pay-per-view sales. Evanesian's not getting anything. He just got a flat rate. And it's a situation where his team knew that Evanesian wasn't in the position to call any shots. He just was grateful for the opportunity, and he took what he can get. So Crawford is in a great position. Okay? We don't know what's going to happen with the pay-per-view numbers and all that. There's some people out here saying, oh, man, why are you jumping in the man's pocket? Why are you worried about what he's making? Well, this is what we're talking about. We're having a conversation about boxing, Bud, fighting, purses, corruption, etc. Okay? So that the negotiations is a discussion. You don't want to hear it? Take your stupid ass and get off the channel and quit posting dumb comments. All right? But for those boxing fans, we like to know about this stuff. It's interesting to us. So for Terence Crawford and Evanesian, it looks like money's not going to be an issue. But I still think Crawford should have at least said something. You can't just, you can do what you want, but that just hurts your character and makes people second guess wanting to sit down and to negotiate with you. Okay? Then there was I guess rumors that, according to Brian Custer, PBC said what they promised Crawford was a fight with Spence, then after that a fight with Jermell Charlo, and after that a fight with Danny Garcia. So Crawford said that's not true. But to me, I don't know if they conveyed that to him. Maybe that was the plan, but Crawford said that wasn't in the contract. If that was the plan, why didn't they put that in the contract? So Brian Custer asked Crawford, well, Earl Spence says, why don't you show the contract? Crawford says, why would I do that? Why would I show whatever contract that I do have? Because now it's a potential for a lawsuit. And then right before they went on to the next question, Crawford said, well, hold on. Well, if Spence has the contract and he's saying I should show it, why doesn't he show it? Which is fair, okay? But I'll say something about that interview, right? Brian Custer was kind of treating Crawford, and maybe it's just his position as the guy doing the interview. He was kind of treating Crawford like Crawford was the B side, wasn't he? Kind of treating Crawford like he was, a C, B minus type fighter. But then again, you got to ask those pointed questions. I get it, but he definitely wasn't. It wasn't like he was agreeing with Bud. It was more like he was kind of blaming Bud for the fight not happening, and almost looking at Bud like you'd find Bud in them Chinese restaurants, them packs of duck sauce. You know what I mean? So I picked up on that too. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just his position and the kind of questions he has to ask. Because he definitely wasn't talking to Bud like, I hear you, I agree with you. It was more like raking him against the coals. But he was being professional. But I picked up on that. I was like, damn, Bud gonna start cussing at this man here in a second. So as far as Spence, Bud, their contract, being in a contract to fight Spence, to fight Jermell Charlo, and fight Danny Garcia, Bud said that's all BS. That was never in the contracts. There was no 3 fights. He was like, it was just for Earl Spence and Terence Crawford. And Bud said he never even asked for a rematch. they put it in there. For Bud and Spence, there would have been 3 fights. It would have been the first fight, then a rematch. If they split or 1-1, then they would have had a 3rd fight. But whoever won the first fight, if they won the second fight, it would have been over. Okay? Then he says, okay, we already covered that crap, right? It's a trip. Took $10 million, signed no guarantee, Spence would do. Okay. So then they were talking about the $10 million again. And how Spence and Crawford would do huge numbers. And why would you go out there and fight this guy Van der Sien for not small money, it's a lot of money, but when you could have made 2-3 times more with fighting Earl Spence? And this is what Crawford said. And it tells you the mentality. It depends on how you want to look at it. Okay, but Crawford said there's no guarantee. He's like, yes, for him fighting Spence would do numbers. He did admit to that. But he said there's no guarantee they would have done 2 times as much or 3 times as much. So for Crawford, I'd have to say he's right. There's no guarantee, but it's highly likely that he would have made more money fighting Earl Spence. Especially if all else failed, right? They could have come to his people with that $50 million and each of them got $25 million apiece. So waiting another 2 months, that's not worth an additional $15 million in your pocket. Then, I mean, I don't know. But this is where some people say Crawford just doesn't want to fight Spence. Crawford is ducking Spence. Crawford ran from all that money. He ran from legacy. He embarrassed himself. He hurt the sport of boxing. Now, I don't necessarily, what I do feel is he pulled out the fight. He walked away from negotiations. That's a fact. That's what he said. Is he afraid of Earl Spence? No, he's not afraid of no damn Earl Spence. Now, the flip side to this is if there's some truth to Al Heyman and the whole PBC team and Earl Spence, if there is any truth to them wanting Bud to fight Spence, then to fight Jamel, then to fight Danny Garcia. The reason for that is they wanted to lock him into a situation kind of like Devin Haney over at Top Rank. If you come in and you beat my guy twice and take all those belts, well then, for you to go up and fight my 154-pounder, right? That's going to be the incentive for you to let go of all those belts. Drop all those belts from 147, right? So then those belts end up coming back to where my PBC fighters are probably fighting for 3 of those 4 belts. And then PBC can regain control of the welterweight division. And then I dangle that carrot in front of you. Now you get to fight for the undisputed Jermell Charlo at 154. You walk right into that. And there's a highly likely chance Crawford loses that fight. But he may win. You see? So it's like dangling a carrot in front of someone. You know, hey man, you know, well, you can take this fight. But hey, if you come over here, then we have this for you too. You see, and Crawford's not a guy who's going to get caught up in no multi-fight deal. I'm telling you that. He already said that. So that doesn't entice him. Now, if he wanted to map out his career with huge paydays, then that's something that he should have, if there's any truth to it, that's something where I wouldn't understand why he wouldn't even entertain it. But I can understand him wanting to be free and not be locked down. I get it. But damn, you can map out the next 3 big fights, whatever, you know, the money would have been there. So I don't know. But Crawford goes on to say he just wants to be treated fairly. You know, he felt like with the stuff he agreed to in the deal, from the purse split, he said everything. He said he just felt like he wasn't treated fairly. He wasn't being respected. Now, what I will say, right? Apologize for yawning, but I'm human. It's late. I'm tired, and I'm not editing it out. What I will say is this. I think it would have benefited Crawford, just like many other people say, to have someone there to help him push through negotiations. But that would have only helped to a certain point. You know why? Because Crawford he wanted to fight this year. And he wanted to get that quick. But let me tell you, once they threw that $10 million in front of him, that was all he needed to hear. If they would have told him he would have been fighting Evander Cien and they would have gave him, say, $2 million, I don't think he would have took the fight. But that $10 million, listen, that's a lot of money. So I don't blame him. It's frustrating. My only issue is, my man, you just walked away from everything and just almost like everyone's time got wasted. And then you're putting the spin on it as, oh, the negotiations fell apart. They didn't fall apart. You walked away from the goddamn deal because you wanted to fight this year. Instead of just telling them that, you just walked away and they hear about it over Twitter, and that's corny. So the more Crawford talks, the more, to me, he makes himself look bad. Now, the thing is, most of the people who are saying horrible things about Crawford, if he just came out and said, hey, look, I got a family, I need this $10 million, and it is what it is. But, instead of blaming those guys, look, we talked, it got to a point to where obviously there's some things they're working on that are going to push the fight back to February, and I get it, I understand, I'm appreciative. However, I had an opportunity here to fight this year, which is what I need, and to make $10 million. I took it. People would have been frustrated, but it would have come across better opposed to him sitting back almost like the victim. They made me do it. They made me take this $10 million. They made me take this fight this year so I could remain active. I couldn't. They made me take this fight so I wouldn't end up going in the ring 15 months out the ring. The victim stance wasn't necessary. Getting on Instagram, that was horrible. You should have never done that. Twitter, arguing with fans. I'll pull up on you. I'll do this, I'll do that. I'm a gangster. Out of here with that tough guy shit. And then now you come in interviews and you're still talking, and he still won't disclose who the hell had that money. The hedge fund, the mystery banker, the mystery hedge fund, the mystery investors. You still won't disclose that. So if you're going to come out here and be Al Capone, go all the way, man. That's all I'm saying. So the interview, pretty entertaining, but you've been calling Spence out all this time. And I honestly think when it comes to him and talking about legacy and being undisputed in 2 weight divisions, I think Crawford's like, that ship sailed. I think Crawford really does not care. He's all about currency over legacy. And what it reminds me of, this is akin to Gervonta Davis, with Leonard Ellerbe and Floyd were pushing Gervonta Davis to fight nobodies and make big money. That's what they came out and they said. Those are not my words. Leonard Ellerbe said, and Floyd Mayweather said, why put Tank in a situation where he can take unnecessary damage when he can stay active and make gazillions of dollars? You can't feed your children belts. You can't pay the bills with belts. This was out of their mouth. Those aren't my words. And that's what they were doing for Gervonta Davis. And I don't disagree with that. Shit, if you're going to make $1 billion fighting nobodies, do it. But what happened with Gervonta, Floyd already had his legacy. Then the money came. Gervonta's getting the money, but he's not really getting the legacy. Floyd fought everybody and dominated them. Gervonta hasn't had that opportunity. So I think he wants that. But what you're seeing in Crawford and AB, they have the legacy already. Now they want to make big money. And as a result, I do not think we'll get Crawford and Spence in the next 2 years. I don't think it's going to happen at all. There's too much thrash there. There's too much. And I just don't see them being able to work out a deal. Because the sanctioning bodies, the mandatories are going to preclude it. It is what it is. And Bud Crawford is going to have to fight Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis is floating out there. He's the boogeyman. And he's going to be the one that Crawford, after the Evander Cien fight, I'm 95% sure he's going to have to face, because everybody else is committed to fighting someone. It's already been announced. They're already in camp training for these people. The only person who doesn't have someone is Boots Ennis. And now that Virgil Ortiz and Stanley Eunice are fighting, Ortiz has been moved out of that spot as the number 1 to Terence Crawford. And now Boots Ennis is the number 1 to Terence Crawford. So that's going to be the fight that gets made. But that being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans. Shout out to everybody from all 7 continents. Please donate, support the channel. It's appreciated. And I'm in the breeze.